channel. I am so excited to be going through the books that I am excited to read this upcoming summer with you guys. Like always, these are books that are releasing over the next few months. My list is kind of mid-June through to mid-September is kind of what I pulled from for the summer. And like always, this list is, I like to view it less of a TBR and more of as a list of books that are on my radar. I would like to read. They're intriguing based on the synopsis, but I might not necessarily, I'm not holding myself accountable to reading them, I guess, over the next few months, because I very definitely am a mood reader. I could say I want to read a book as much as I want and say that month after month, and it won't happen until I kind of feel like it. So, like always, I do have my phone here with my list and the synopses because I unfortunately will not remember all of them and all the details that are in those books. And, you know, like always, if you see a book that you are interested in, or if you have read one of these books already, please feel free to drop in the comments. I would love to chat about books with you guys there. But let's get into the summer books. So first on my list is One Star Romance by Laura Hankin, out on June 18th. And it follows a struggling writer, Natalie, and Rob, who could, like, Natalie and Rob could have anything in common. Nat's a messy artist, Rob's a rigid academic, and the only thing that they have in common is their devotion to their best friends who just got engaged. So unexpected chemistry has Natalie cautiously optimistic about being maid of honor to Rob's best man, until minutes before the ceremony when she finds out that Rob wrote a 1-star review of her new novel, which was very, very public, and it has them both reeling. Nat has imposter syndrome, and Rob is kind of unsure about the reason why he felt he needed to write it. So the reception ends, and the two of them go their opposite ways, hoping that they'll never meet again. However, because their best friends are married, they end up being thrown back together at all these milestone events in their friends' lives. They're at home, they're at housewarmings, they're at christenings, they're at life-changing triumphs and failures, and just, they have to grapple with their own choices, and also come to the realization that sometimes your harshest critic can actually be your perfectly imperfect match. So this is a rom-com. We know that they're probably going to end up back together at the end of the story. They're going to fall in love. It's going to be a happily ever after ending. But I'm actually so intrigued on kind of how this goes. I know it's going to kind of be like an enemies to lover situation because they don't like each other. So I bet they're like enemies or like acquaintances to lovers, I would say, maybe in this. But it just seems super fun. And honestly, I have seen people who have received advanced reader copies of this book have talked about how much they absolutely loved this book. So I'm ready to like dive in and kind of see where it goes on June 18th. After that, I have a novel love story by Ashley Poston, out on June 25th. And it follows a professor of literature who finds herself caught up in a work of fiction, literally. And Ashley Poston previously wrote The 7-Year Slip and The Dead Romantics. I didn't read The Dead Romantics, but I did read The 7-Year Slip and absolutely loved it. And it also is one of those books that kind of has some magical realism in it, which I've kind of spoken on this before, and it was one of my goals for the year to read more books with that magical realism kind of in it, and that entity, and Expiration Dates really does have that as well. But I know that I like Ashley Poston novels, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to like this one as well. Essentially, our female main character is Eileen Merriweather, who loves to get lost in a happily ever after, especially the fictional kind, but because at least imaginary men do not leave you at the altar. She feels safe in a book at home, which might be why she's so set on going to her annual book club retreat this year. She needs good friends, cheap wine, and grand romantic gestures no matter what. But when her car unexpectedly breaks down on the way, she finds herself stranded in a quaint town that feels like it's right out of a novel, because it is. The place can't be real, and yet here she is in Eloriton, the town of her favorite romance series, where the candy store's honey taffy is always sweet, the local bar's burgers are always a little burnt, and rain always comes in the afternoon. It feels like home. It's perfect and perfectly frozen, trapped in the late author's last unfinished story. Elsie is sure that's why she must be here, to help bring the town to its storybook ending. Except there is a character in Ellerton that she can't place, a grumpy bookstore owner with mint green eyes, an irritatingly sexy mouth, and impeccable taste in novels. And he does not want her finishing this book. Which is a problem, because Elsie is beginning to think that the town's happily ever after might just be intertwined with her own. This just seems fun. Like a book where you are kind of like trapped in it, trying to get out of it. She's trapped in like her favorite romance series. I'm sure, like, you know, she talks about the happily ever after and how like these men are like perfect, which we all know men in romance novels for the most part. Some of them are questionable, but for the most part they are really, really good. This just seems fun. So I'm really excited to dive into that. Next on my list is The Game Changer by Lara Ferguson, out on July 9th. And Lara Ferguson previously wrote The Nanny, and then her second book was The Fake Mate. I spoke about this in one of my reading wrap-ups. I don't remember what month it was, but I really enjoyed The Nanny, and I didn't really enjoy The Fake Mate. So, and I know kind of like a lot of people felt that way. Like, The Nanny was great, The Fake Mate, we were like, what is this? But The Game Changer, fingers crossed, will actually be good. It is not a supernatural book, which might just be a genre that I don't really like enjoy. Like, The Fake Mate was very like alpha, omega verse. I don't even know what it's called. It had wolves. Whereas The Game Changer is a hockey romance. So we're pretty much already halfway there to me enjoying it. But it's about a hockey player and a baker who shoot their shot in a steamy new romance. So after a very public breakup becomes a PR nightmare for Ian Chase's team, he hopes to focus on his game, but that suddenly seems less likely than a hat trick. With his career and the team's image in jeopardy, Ian is surprised to find a solution through none other than Delilah Baker, his best friend and teammate's little sister, who isn't so little anymore. Delilah Baker is known as the darling of baking on her local cable show, and being in the public eye is her bread and butter. But with her numbers dwindling and her producers turning up the heat, Delilah offers up the half-baked idea to collaborate with her brother's team to entice the hockey fans of Boston to tune into her show. Delilah thinks it will be a piece of cake until the team sends Ian Chase, her brother's best friend, and the object of a decade-long crush that she's never quite gotten over. Delilah and Ian's teams think it's a true win-win situation, gaining higher numbers for Delilah's show and casting Ian in a more positive light. And viewers are eating them up like a cupcake, sparking the idea to play up the relationship for the goal of good press. With more than just their careers on thin ice, the line between what's real and what's for show begins to blur, but one thing is for certain, this PR stunt will either be a total game changer or leave them both totally pucked. So, I don't know. I don't really have much to say about this. It's a hockey romance. It's brother's best friend or like brother's little sister, like hockey romance. I know exactly where this should be going. I know that they're also in a fake dating relationship. Seems like a fun, light, easy breezy hockey romance that's hopefully similar to The Nanny and less so The Fake Mate for me, but I will be reading it for sure. Also out on July 9th is Heir Apparently by Kara McDowell, which just seems so much fun, and I'm actually so excited to dive into this one. It follows an American teen who learns she may have accidentally married the King of England, only to end up stranded on a tropical island with him. So freshman year is stressful enough without accidentally being married to the King of England. Of course, when Ren Wheeler can't tell her Northwestern classmates about that after surviving a narrowly averted apocalypse over the summer, everyone's had enough excitement for one lifetime. Ren knows she needs to move on from Theo, but she can't forget the look in his eyes when he left her on that island in Greece, and also he took her dog. When an ill-fated attempt to rescue Comet, the apocalypse dog, turns into a chemistry field reunion with Theo that's caught by the paparazzi, Ren finds herself under the royal spotlight. Suddenly, she's a problem for the firm to solve, and in order to be protected from the rapid press, she'll have to fly back to London with Theo. Along for the ride are Naomi and Brooke, as well as Theo's siblings, including Henry, the brother he spent his life being compared to. But because the universe can't let these two maybe newlyweds have one conversation in peace, their plane goes down over the Atlantic, crashing onto a tropical island in the middle of nowhere. Stranded with no sign of rescue, the group will have to band together against poisonous animals, catastrophic injuries, a brotherly rivalry, and an ill-timed volcano if they're going to make it out alive. And scariest of all, Ren and Theo will have to face their feelings for one another and decide what they want their futures to look like, and if that future will be heartbreak or happily ever after. This book looks like a mess. So much is said in the synopsis. Like, we have this, did they get married? Did they not get married? Because that's unsure. She's getting thrust as like normal person celebrity in there as well. She gets thrust into the spotlight after, she's from this regular college student at Northwestern, and then she's just like thrust into the spotlight. She has her and her friends and his brothers, and they get stuck on this island with her dog. Like, I am excited for this. When I say it's going to be a mess, I know it's going to be a mess in like the best way possible. And then also, the first time I read this synopsis, I actually thought of that movie. I want to say it's called The Prince and Me. It's like Julia Stiles and this Prince of Denmark or whatever, and he's like pretending to be a regular student at her university. She takes him back to his farm. Like, that's the vibes this book is giving me, and I am so here for it. Like, I want all of this. All of the mess, please. I am also really excited to read Humor Me by Kat Shook on July 9th. So, this is described as a book that's perfect for fans of romantic comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, and it's about the healing power of female friendship, unexpected love, and stand-up comedy. So, Presley Fry is not amused. She's been an assistant at the late night show for way too long. She's adopted a business casual approach to dating to save herself from the embarrassment of seeking genuine connection, and she's content to let her gregarious roommate Isabel orchestrate her entire social life. Not completely disillusioned, Presley is enamored with the world of stand-up comedy. The joy she finds in discovering up-and-coming comedians is enough for now. Presley is still reeling from her mother's death, which still knocks the wind out of her every time she reaches for the phone. Enter Susan Clark, her late mother's childhood best friend. Susan is married to the head of the network where Presley works and is determined to take Presley under her wing. She's equally determined to connect Presley with her son, the bright and affable Lawrence, who couldn't be farther from Presley's type. As Presley grapples with the loss of her mother and finds her people among those who seek out comedy to make the world a bit brighter, Humor Me reminds us that friendship can emerge from where you least expect it, and that shared laughter can ease the deepest pain. I'm just kind of really attracted to this book because I understand kind of a lot of what is going on in the synopsis. I fully relate to the whole, like, when someone passes in your family and just being absolutely reeling. I know when my grandmother passed, like, I would not have gone through that without the help of family and friends. And you do kind of, grief changes how you behave. So I am really interested in seeing how it is tackled in this book. I'm interested in seeing how Presley kind of moves forward and how she uses comedy for that as well and everything else. And I just love the fact that it really focuses kind of on stand-up comedy and everything else. And then also it's a book that's more based on friendship. I know it's called a romance novel, but I also really like it when we get these books that they have to kind of qualify them as romance, or they market them as romance, but it really is more a story of friendship and family as opposed to a story about, like, two people falling in love, because there's, as we all know, there's various different forms of love. There's platonic, there's romantic. Love comes and goes in a variety of different ways. And then on July 16th, Business Casual by B.K. Borison comes out. This is the fourth book in the Love Light Farms series, which I'm actually really excited for. At the beginning of the year, I actually read the first 3 books in the series and absolutely like ate them up. Love Light Farms was easily one of my favorite books of last year, and then I pretty much like went headfirst into the remaining 2, and I'm so happy to know that a 4th one is actually coming out now. So Business Casual is following Nova Porter, who is I honestly can't even remember his name now, but the brother of the main character in book 2. So Nova Porter isn't looking for love, and she certainly has no explanation for her attraction to buttoned-up, 3-piece suit-wearing investment banker Charlie Milford. Maybe it's his charm, or maybe it's his determination to help her fledgling business however he can. Either way, she's distracted every time he's around. With her new tattoo studio set up to open in her hometown of Inglewood, she doesn't have time for frivolous flirtations. In an effort to get Charlie out of her system once and for all, Nova offers a proposition. One night, no strings. They'll kick their uncomfortable attraction to the curb and return to their respective responsibilities. But their explosive night together scatters their expectations like fallen leaves. And with Charlie in town as the temporary head of Love Light Farms, Nova can't quite avoid him. And Charlie knows a good investment when he sees one. He's hoping he can convince Nova he's worth some of her time. So yeah, I'm just excited to go back to Inglewood and kind of like see what the whole gang is up to. Find out if there's more like animals that they are rescuing and everything else. I really loved the series to begin with, so I'm excited to delve in and find out more about what's happening there. Also on my list is the Vows by Jessica Joyce, coming out on July 16th. Jessica Joyce wrote You With a View, which I ate up last year. It was so good, or maybe earlier this year, I don't quite remember, but I just remember really enjoying this book about this road trip. And this one follows estranged exes who must stick close together to save their best friend's wedding after a string of disasters. So Georgia Woodford lives by her list, none more so than the one about her ex, Eli Mora. It's full of the ironclad do's and don'ts they've been following since she returned to the Bay Area after their cataclysmic breakup 5 years ago. With the wedding of their mutual best friend, Adam, looming, and them about to step into the roles as best woman and man, Georgia's never needed it more. She refuses to threaten their tight-knit friend group with her messy and still very present feelings. The rules on that list will keep her cool, calm, and compartmentalized. What's not on her list? Eli arriving from New York with a new rule-breaking attitude, or the all-inclusive venue burning to the ground, leaving the bride and groom in dire straits. Nor does she anticipate Adam asking her and Eli to help him make a miracle happen together. As Georgia and Eli rush up to Napa Valley to pull off the perfect wedding, their old chemistry comes back in Technicolor. Somewhere between cake testings gone wrong, disastrous DJ auditions, and Eli's heated attention, Georgia starts recognizing the man she fell in love with before, and she lets herself break her rules. She might find what they're building isn't the same something old that ruined them. It's the chance of something new. Like I said, I really enjoyed You With a View by Jessica Joyce. I do think this seems like another story that's just kind of fun. It's set at a wedding. The cover of this book is absolutely like stunning. I think it's so prettily printed and everything else. And because I enjoyed her debut novel, I'm willing to give her second novel a chance. It's kind of all I can say there. That's just kind of how I'm feeling. It's a light, airy book that seems fun to read. On July 23rd, The Faculty Lounge by Jennifer Mathieu comes out. And it's a funny, bright-hearted adult debut that is at once an ode to educators, a timely glimpse at today's pressing school issues, and a tender character study, following a sprawling cast of teachers, administrators, and staff at a Texas high school. So Jennifer Mathieu previously wrote Moxie, which I believe is a YA book. I believe a movie or a TV show was also made about this book. But the faculty lounge follows an ensemble of warm and unforgettable characters that shows readers a different side of school life. It all starts when an elderly substitute teacher at Baldwin High School is found dead in the faculty lounge. After a bit of a stir, life quickly returns to normal. It's not like the worst or even the most interesting thing that has happened within the building's wall. But when a week later, a spontaneous scattering of his ashes on the school ground catches the attention of some busybody parents, it sets in motion a year that can only be described as wild, bizarre, tragic, mundane, beautiful, and humorous all at once. In the midst of the ensuing hysteria and threats of disciplinary action, the novel peeks into the lives of the implicated adults who, it turns out, actually have first names and continue to exist when the school day is done. We meet a former punk band frontman, now a middle-aged principal who must battle it out with the school board to keep his job, a no-nonsense school nurse willing to break the rules despite the close watch on their campus when a student arrives at her office with a dilemma, and a disgruntled English teacher who finds himself embroiled in even more controversy when he misfires a snarky email. Oh, and there's also a teacher makeout session in a supply closet during lockdown. As these people continue to manage the messiness of the school year, there is the looming threat of what will become of their beloved Baldwin High. Ultimately, at the heart of this unconventional workplace novel is a story of the power of human connection and of the joy of finding purpose in what it is we do every day. It's so funny because I was actually talking to someone about this the other day, about how you sometimes don't realize that like your teachers have lives outside of school. Like I remember the first time I saw a teacher in a grocery store and I was like, you look different. And to have a book that kind of like really dives into the backstory of these teachers and what's going on in their lives outside, and then they're coming to work because it's work, it's a job, is so interesting to me. I want to know, like I've said before, I love books that have like a little bit of mess kind of thrown in there, and this just seems messy, again, in the best type of way. Like you have this teacher who is like battling for their job, the school nurse is doing, you have like this two teachers making out in a closet. Like what is going on in the school? And I'm so intrigued to know like their day to day and how they grapple with trying to save the school. So I will definitely be picking this up and reading it when it comes out. I'm also really excited for the Bookshop Sisterhood by Michelle Lindo-Rice coming out on July 30th. So it's a drama-packed page-turner is what it's being described at, and it really is a story about friendship. So it follows four women, four best friends, Celeste, Yasmin, Tony, and Leslie, who after years of hard work are finally on the verge of opening the bookshop of their dreams, a place where their community can find solace with an interesting read, a comforting beverage, and book-loving friends. But before they can cut the ribbon, their worlds are upended. Tony receives devastating news just months before her wedding, while Celeste's struggling marriage threatens to collapse completely. Leslie learns a shocking secret about her family, and a lotto ticket changes Yasmin's life, but not for the better. As the bookstore's grand opening fast approaches, the four women must lean on each other now more than ever to navigate their grief and uncertainty. And together they'll learn that sometimes even life's most unexpected plot twists can lead to beautiful new beginnings. Like I said, this is a story about friendship and found family and how friendship will see them through kind of what is going on in their lives. I am really excited for this one, especially just because it seems so intriguing. I personally have always wanted to open up a bookshop somewhere. I think that's like top 10 dream is to like, or like top 3 dream is to have a bookshop somewhere that could be a very cozy community gathering place. So I'm probably gonna love a book about 4 women who are banding together and are kind of living my dream. And obviously I know that, you know, there's things that happen. It does say that before they can cut the ribbon, their lives are upended, but I think that happens all the time. Like, we make these plans and they get upended and things change, and we lean on our family and our friends to help us get through it. So I'm really excited to dive into this and see where it goes. Also coming out on July 30th is Name Your Price by Holly James. It is a rom-com, and this looks fun. It's about a pair of broke exes who get locked in a house together on a reality TV show for a chance to win $1 million. And it's a second chance romance, and it perfectly captures the absurd sincerity of made-for-TV love. So Olivia Martin and Chuck Walsh have chemistry, too much chemistry perhaps. Their interaction as a couple either lights the house up with sexual tension or burns it down with anger. After one huge, very public fight, they finally break up for good, or so they think. Someone was filming their dramatic argument in the street, and because Olivia's parents were Hollywood royalty, and because Chuck's an actor whose star is on the rise, the video goes viral. When Name Your Price, a reality game show, sees the footage, they invite Olivia and Chuck to shoot a very unusual challenge. Live in a locked house together for 1 month, and they will be paid $1 million each. Olivia really needs the money if she's going to keep her beloved grandmother in her nursing home, and Chuck is desperate for any chance to win Olivia back. So the game is on, even as the show tries to pluck every nerve with only one bed, one bathroom, and a set of rules that will lose them money if broken, including no touching. With stakes that have never been higher and their explosive chemistry at a fever pitch, can Chuck and Olivia keep it together and their hands off each other for 1 month? Find out next week on Name Your Price. Again, this seems fun. I'm curious if they're going to break the fourth wall a bit with this one and we see kind of behind the scenes and some scheming from the showrunners. But I can't imagine being like this situation and like you're gonna get locked in a house with one bed, one bathroom, and all these things and for an entire month. That is insanity to me, but I will read it. So that's what I will be doing on July 30th, is reading this book. The Fiance Dilemma by Elena Aramas is also releasing on July 30th, and it follows Josie Moore, who has given the opposite sex and love plenty of chances, 4 exactly if you count all her failed engagements, and 5 if you include her no longer absentee father. Nonetheless, when the influential man decides to announce his retirement with a splashy magazine piece, and Josie learns that her romantic history isn't great PR for the family, she jumps at the chance to offer a solution. Matthew Flanagan is in the mud, literally. Not only has he been fired from his job, but after taking a wrong turn on his way to Green Oak, North Carolina, his car is stuck. So he grabs a duffel bag with his essential and goes in search of a place to crash until he gets his life and vehicle back on track. But instead, he stumbles upon his best friend's sister, Josie, greeting him as her fiancé. What starts as a big misunderstanding quickly turns into a fake engagement, with Matthew playing the role of the doting fiancé as he and Josie are swept into a PR whirlwind. The ring on Josie's finger makes her stomach turn, but she knows this is only temporary. They have rules in place, and one of them is that no matter what, there will be no exchange of I do's. But that's easier said than done, as lines soon begin to start to blur, and the rest of the small town comes to believe the fifth fiancé is truly the one. I have previously enjoyed Elena Aramas's books. She wrote The American Roommate Experiment. She had The Long Shot, I think it was called, last year, as well as like a couple other books in there as well. The Spanish Love Deception. I've always thought that they were like really fun, quick reads for me. Kind of just like a good pick up, read it over a weekend or something like that. So I am excited to dive into this one as well when it comes out. It's one of those books that I just know that I'm going to pick up an Elena Aramas novel. I'm probably going to enjoy it and like it. It's an easy read for me, so it's kind of a no-brainer. The Pairing by Casey McQuiston is out on August 6th, and this easily was one of my most anticipated novels when I first heard that she was writing another book. Full disclosure, I have already read this book. I did receive an advanced reader copy of it, and you can hear my full review on the book in my May reading wrap-up, which I'll make sure that I will have linked for you guys. But essentially, the pairing follows two bisexual exes who accidentally book the same European food and wine tour and challenge each other to a hookup competition to prove they're over each other, except they're definitely not. So Theo and Kit have been a lot of things. They were childhood best friends, crushes, in love, and now they're estranged exes. After a brutal breakup on the transatlantic flight to their dream European food and wine tour, they exited each other's lives once and for all. Time apart has done them good. Theo has found confidence as a hustling bartender by night and aspiring sommelier by day, with a long list of casual lovers. Kit, who never returned to America, graduated as the reigning sex god of his pastry school class and now bakes at one of the finest restaurants in Paris. Sure, nothing really compares to what they had, and life stretches out long and lonely ahead of them, but yeah, it's all in the past. All that remains is the unused voucher for the European tour that never happened, good for 48 months after its original date and about to expire. 4 years later, it seems like a great idea for them to finally take the trip, solo and separately. It's not until they board the tour bus that they discover that they've both accidentally had the exact same idea, and now they're trapped with each other for 3 weeks of stunning views, luscious flavors, and the most romantic cities of France, Spain, and Italy. It's fine. There's nothing left between them. So much nothing that when Theo suggests a friendly wager to see who can sleep with their hot Italian tour guide first, Kit is totally game. And why stop there? Why not a full-on European hookup competition? But sometimes the taste of everything only makes you crave what you can't have. So, like I said, I absolutely loved this book. You can hear all my thoughts about it in my May reading wrap-up, but it's a good one. It's up there with the rest of her books and being like very good. It is not topping Red, White, and Royal Blue for me. I honestly don't think anything will ever kind of unthrone Red, White, and Royal Blue when it comes to Casey McQuiston's books for me. But I would say it falls like second or third, depending on how I'm feeling. But the pairing it's a good one, and you should check it out. I've also read The Breakup Pact by Emma Lord, out on August 13th, which is, I also received an advanced copy of this book, so I have already read it, and my review for it is up in my January reading wrap-up. It follows two best friends who haven't spoken in 10 years, who pretend to date after breakups with their respective exes go viral. And it's June and Levi. They were best friends as teenagers until the day that they weren't. Now June's struggling to make rent on her beachside tea shop. Levi is living a New York cliche as a disillusioned hedge fund manager and failed novelist, and they've barely spoken in years. But after they both experience public humiliating breakups with their exes that spread like wildfire across TikTok rabbit holes and daytime talk shows alike, they accidentally make some juicy gossip of their own. A photo of them together has the internet convinced they're a couple. With so many people rooting for them, they decide to put aside their rocky past and make a pact to fuel the fire. Pretending to date will help June's shop get back on its feet and make Levi's ex realize that she made a mistake. All they have to do is convince the world they're in love, one swoon-worthy photo op at a time. 2 viral breakups, 1 fake relationship, 5 sparkling heart-pounding dates. June and Levi can definitely pull this off without their hearts getting involved. Because everyone knows fake dating doesn't come with real feelings, right? So, like I said, I've already read this book, and you can see all my full thoughts on it in my January reading wrap-up. But this was not my favorite Emma Lord book at all. It is her adult debut, and I think she's really great at YA. I felt that this book was missing a little bit. And I can't really tell you like what. I'm still kind of struggling to pinpoint what exactly it is missing. I might actually reread it to see if I feel a little bit differently now with a little bit of distance that I had from the book previously. But it's good. I believe it was a 3-star read for me, but it wasn't great, and I wasn't wowed by it the way, or pulled into it the way that I have been with her previous books. But I definitely still think it is a good novel by her, just not my favorite. And then the final book that I am looking forward to reading is The Life Impossible by Matt Haig, out on September 3rd. This book is on the list because I really wanted to read The Midnight Library, and I haven't yet. But he's coming out with another book. And I've heard amazing things about The Midnight Library, so I'm going to try and tackle that over the next few months, and then also pick up The Life Impossible, or read The Life Impossible first and then pick up The Midnight Library. We shall see. But it's on it because it seems I'm intrigued by it. And essentially it's about a retired math teacher, Grace Winters, who inherits a rundown house on the Mediterranean island of Ibiza from a long-lost friend. Curiosity gets the better of her. So Grace arrives in Ibiza with a one-way ticket, no guidebook, and no plan. Among the rugged hills and golden beaches of the island, Grace searches for answers about her friend's life and how it ended. What she uncovers is stranger than she could have possibly dreamed. But to dive into this impossible truth, Grace must first come to terms with her past. Filled with wonder and wild adventure, this is a story of hope and the life-changing power of a new beginning. I'm intrigued, is I guess all I can say. I'm so intrigued by the idea of her kind of leaving on a one-way ticket and no guidebook, no plan, and just kind of, it's a new beginning. I am so intrigued by it. I guess is all I could say, which is why I'll probably be picking up in September. It does seem like one of those books that I'm going to pick up, and it's going to be on my bookshelf, and I'm going to just end up reading on like a kind of rainy or cold fall day, or when it's snowing in the middle of winter, and just, it's just going to be a book that I'm going to have. But either way, I'm excited to dive into it. So there you have it, all the books that I am excited to see released in the summer of 2024. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe. I always am so touched to have conversations with you all in this community that we are building here. And feel free to comment below about any of these books, if you have read them, if you're looking forward to them, what is on your radar that's coming out soon, because as we all know, there are so many books that are released every single week, and I might have missed something that is really good and you could recommend. And I'm always looking for recommendations for my growing TBR pile. So I look forward to chatting with you guys in the comments, and until next time, have a great day.